It's officially 3 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you will join us for the Pledge of the Allegiance, we'll start there. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will call the roll. Our district attorney, Tony Peters. Yes. And Supervisor Hinkle, Supervisor Banks, Supervisor Feinberg, Supervisor Guy. Supervisor Flaherty is not able to join us today, and we have our district manager, Chris Shoemaker. And I'll start by wishing everybody a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And one little update I'd like to give before we get started is that a little earlier this afternoon I spoke with Diane Collins, and she has had to have surgery, so she's going to be out for a little while, but she wanted me to wish everybody a Happy New Year. So she sounded pretty good. She's,
her neck?
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to pass that along because she asked me to do that. If any of you would like to address the board, there's sheets back there for you to fill out and give to Mr. Shoemaker so that you can be recognized. And with that, I will. Oh, and the other thing was, if you have one of these, please turn it to silent so that we don't have ringing phones in the middle of the meeting. We'd appreciate that. And I can tell we have people that wish to speak.
We have 3 and possibly a 4th coming up.
Okay.
I think we will do those in order. First of all is Mr. Paul Tobin. As the court, business plan, RV park.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Tobin. I'm president of Gateway Greens, but I'm here in my capacity as a homeowner. I was here the other day for some business with Mr. Shoemaker, and we started talking a little bit about the RV park. It happened to come up, and I started asking about the business plan that justifies why basically our taxpayer dollars are being used to create an entity that will at best serve less than 1% of this community, 80 homeowners, assuming that there are 8,000 homes in the community. I'm not sure whether or not that's an accurate number, but if anything, I think it's on the low side. I went to the website, which, by the way, you cannot search and find everything related to the RV park because your website doesn't actually index and search things, so I would ask you to address that as well. So I went back through the last few minutes of meetings and listened to what was available. I have sent out a number of emails to the Board of Supervisors this morning. I would ask you please address those questions when you have an opportunity. But basically, there doesn't appear to be a business plan that justifies the expenditure of almost $600,000 on construction costs alone for the creation of an RV park. Competitive landscape in the area is that these are being built by commercial enterprises both to our north and to our south, the rates of which are significantly higher than are proposed in the financial plan that's been put forward. And with financing, bank financing, you're looking at a 7-year return on investment for construction costs alone. My guess is that there's probably a significant amount that also has to go into design, which isn't factored into this, or the ongoing operational costs for an RV park. Electricity, power, security, all the other things. If those costs have been broken down, if there's a business plan, please present it, because from what has been presented so far, this doesn't seem to justify anything but an amenity to 80 homeowners, which will not satisfy the need anyway. From what I understand, there's even more that's required. So I would ask you to please think about this and to present the business case for this before going forward on a single another moment of design or construction. Will the county allow this? Does it require a development order? Is it? So I would ask you to please address those issues.
Thank you.
Next is Flavia Walsh, Magnolia Lakes, a request for planting littorals for our DO.
Hi everyone, Happy New Year to everyone. Flavia Roche, Magnolia Lakes. I am coming to the board to ask for the compliance of Lake 83 and planting of the DO, of the littorals on the upper RGO. I have made this request multiple times on the past few years, and I think the community as a whole has been really patient with the district on this, but we really need some action to be taken ASAP. In regards to also the quality of the water, I was not aware that the district stopped testing Lake 83 for the water quality. And I wasn't sure if Chris, did you know anything about that? Yeah. Because I asked Elle for the quality samples for the water, and none have been taken for a while.
When you say a while, do you know what that is? Is it
4
2
months at least.
4 months? Okay, thanks.
And Chris, I know that Aquagenics is working on some littoral plantings. Is 83 included in
No,
what they were planning on
the only
doing?
thing we've been doing lately with the 83 is resurrecting the washout repairs that we were doing. We got partway started with, and they wanted to make some changes. We were out there last week discussing it, and we discussed, planting littorals after we were done with that work.
And when do you anticipate that work will be completed? For the washouts?
So we could come in after that to do the littorals, and now we budgeted money to do those washouts, but as far as littorals, we haven't budgeted money for doing that. We were gonna use it, like maintenance, it's not a huge amount of money or a huge project, but.
Is there areas where the washouts have been fixed that we could start putting littorals in the areas that have already, so maybe we.
No, because what they want to do is, what they were creating before was like a sump, and they raised the property around it, and they don't like that because of the difficulty cutting grass and doing landscaping around it. So those ones that were done like that, we're gonna end up taking the bobcat and smoothing them out and putting riprap and material down. And most of those areas are, because of the swale between the homes, water's coming down off that and creating a washout. So, and I think, wasn't Elle putting together a preliminary plan we talked about?
We
that?
did, and then I was okay with maybe planting some of the littorals or areas that are required, but there are no washouts, so we don't have to waste the money, meaning like we're gonna plant in a spot that you're gonna have to repair, so you're gonna have to rip those littorals out. So, I mean, we have a deal that is extremely specific where the plantings need to go. And I did a walk the same day that you were there, and about 70% of the littorals planting will not be in areas that need to be worked by the district, on the repairs. I know there was a count, I think we're missing 4,079 littorals, so it's significant. So if you can plant, I don't know, 2,000, and the areas that are not gonna be touched, that will help with the water quality, because it is not good, I can tell you that. Visually, like I said, we don't have the test, but it's not, and the algae is coming back.
And this is the lake that we did the hybrid treatment on that we were doing, and which we've stopped.
No.
It's ongoing?
It's ongoing, yeah.
And the quality did, well, comparatively speaking, did get better.
It did, but Ernesto did send an email to the district, and I was CC'd on it, saying that planting the littorals would help on, with the water quality ongoing, and also would help in areas that we currently don't have washouts, that potentially we could get washouts, because what we noticed is the parts that we did the repair, the water just kind of went around it and created new ones. So just trying to prevent that, but I've been really extremely patient with planting of these littorals. I mean, we have the standards, the board adopted standards, and I really feel like we'll just keep pushing and pushing this. First let's get the repair done littorals. There is nothing that says they cannot be done at the same time or planting the littorals prior to the repaired areas.
So just to be clear, your request is, there is a plan in place, but to expedite some of the littoral plantings, those that aren't impacted by any
Correct.
Any work,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2, to complete the washout maintenance that is again
That I'm
planned.
fine with that
That's-
because we're gonna do an April.
And then the third is to at least pick up some of the water quality testing again on some type of regular basis to ensure
Mhm.
that the water quality is at least being monitored, measured, and
Yeah, we're paying for this,
Yeah.
the service, so I don't understand why we're paying to the treatments, but then we're not testing the water to see if it's working, and we're gonna continue with the treatment that we don't know it's working.
But those are the three things that
Yes,
are on your list.
that's it. And I have them, I think you guys have it too, but I'm gonna give you a copy of the DO, just in case it's one of those that you can't find it, which tells us everything that's missing. That's it.
As far as
Thank
the-
you.
And
Yeah.
as far as the plans for the, the littorals in that area you're going, we have littoral requirements on several of the lakes that are coming up with this next round in the lake bank. And we were gonna bid those out, and then when that lake bank work finishes, then go in and do the littorals. So it hasn't been ignored, it's just we were gonna wait till the construction side of it was done and then come in. And just from a practical matter, I don't wanna bring a contractor in and say, do these areas, but we're gonna work in here and come back in a few weeks and do the other ones. It's like mobilizing 2 times, bringing them to the same job site for convenience. I know, but by May, when all those ponds are done and then they're at their lowest and the construction's settled, that's when we're planning on doing the littoral work and doing 38 in conjunction with 4 of the other ponds. And we're getting bids on that. We've gotten a few back already.
Okay.
Is it 38 or 83?
38,
38?
yeah, that's Magnolia.
I know you said.
No, 83.
Oh, it's 83? Okay, sorry.
And
You were close.
Yeah.
we should, I think, do the water quality testing. If it's been 4 months, it's probably a really good idea to do water quality testing out there.
Yeah, we could figure it out. I don't see why it was interrupted, and they were following up regularly to look at it, but I'll get back to you and see what happened to it.
And with correct me if I'm wrong, but with planting littorals, they usually charge a per plant price to plant. And I wouldn't think that, I wasn't aware that mobilization was part of that. So if there is a possibility of maybe expediting part of her lake, that would be nice, if it's feasible. I'd like to look into the possibility anyway, because I don't think we're gonna be charged for mobilization. I think it's just a per plant price.
Okay, I'll check.
They'll do
and
it
see.
one of 2 ways. They'll either give you a mobilization and then plant 50 plants, or they'll give you a mobilization and plant for 1,000 plants. Somebody's gonna move that stuff in and do the work, so they're either gonna bear it, the unit cost of putting in the plant, or they're going to have it as a separate cost. That make a difference, you're gonna pay one way or the other. But I agree with what Flavia's saying. We've got several other ponds that have deal requirements for littorals that need to be done at the same time. My only concern is doing them too quick and there's no water. They're gonna die. And these water levels on the lakes were receding pretty good up until that rain we had a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they came up a little bit, but still they're way down below the controlled elevation to where if you go out there and put plants in right now, unless somebody's watering them, hand watering them, they're gonna die.
Well, I mean, it comes down to, one, our link maintenance or audit. When we go through and we audit, we should determine which lakes have littorals in the DOs, and we account for that.
L's got a calculation for that.
And that should be done at least annually or biannually. And then once that occurs, it's just a matter of, one, budgeting for it, but sequencing it. Because I think to Flavia's point, they've been patient and what these things have had to occur, the washout maintenance or whatever else. But now it's like, okay, we've waited this amount of time, and now we're at a point where it would make sense to do it within the next couple months, until we get the water level rises, and so it's all about sequencing. So I think if we can at least try to formulate some type of what that plan looks like. I think we know what the washout maintenance, when that work's gonna come through, and then when is the right time to start the littorals, especially if it's in line with some other work, and if the water's being a factor, when do we anticipate the work coming up to a significant level that will maintain the new planning. And then 3, I think the easy piece is the water quality, then let's just kick that back on. So as long as there's a schedule, I think you can communicate that back to your residents, say, look, this is the plan, this is why, The
I
plan.
usually take the water test to the.
Yeah,
the test
yeah,
is
but
that
at least, you know,
fire
the
rate's not-
washouts and the littoral planning, look, the district is, it's in their plan. I've worked with Chris, here's the scheduling. They're gonna do it in conjunction with some other stuff. At least you have a plan that, and then you can hold our feet to the fire, because we've given you a plan, not just we're on it, we're, you know,
And,
it's a little more concrete.
and Chris, we're planning on, the workshop in February being on the littorals, is that correct? For that board meeting? So
I was
this'll,
gonna bring that up.
there'll also be a workshop for that, the second meeting in February. And that'll be, you know, across the board throughout all the gateway, but we'll be discussing
And
it.
just to give a board an idea of the cost, we did get bids, the district did get bids twice in the last year. And it varied from $1,500 to $3,500, so it's not a lot of money when you're spending almost equal that on the water treatment. So that's about the prices that we got from the vendors.
Okay.
All right?
Bobby, do you have Playcoast in your, like,
Mhm.
you do?
Mhm.
Okay. And the next one up will be Jeff Avon? Avon? Country Day Circle.
I just wanted to express, actually have a question in my expression of the 65% proposed increase for the irrigation costs. That to me, you know, I'd like to know why such a large increase. I mean, nothing that I know of ever increases that much in any type of fees. Social Security certainly doesn't. Not to mention other things, of the price of food, and I mean, I don't, gasoline, whatever you want to call it, on an, you know, I don't care if it's over a 1 year period or over 3 or 4 years, whatever. 65% increase, to me, this doesn't make any sense. I'd like to hear why you even consider such an increase.
I'd be happy to address that. One of the reasons is right now, we're charging 31 cents a 1,000 gallons. Yeah, and it doesn't even cover the cost to produce the water and distribute the water. Our wastewater system and our water system is subsidizing the irrigation rates. We're going to 50 cents because that was from the financial model we put together to where we would need to be making a profit or covering our expenses. And even at 50 cents, if you want to get reclaimed water from the city of Fort Myers, you'll pay 80 cents. So even at 50 cents, we're the lowest utility rate in Southwest Florida.
You know,
The 12 utilities. And the reason it's going up so high is because it hasn't been increased in 15 years, basically.
well, that was my, you know, first of all, the fact that we're the lowest, I think that's great. So it's great to be the lowest in anything, it's gonna cost money. But that doesn't really, quite frankly, I just don't care if we're the lowest, okay? I care about a 65% increase for the community. Some communities and HOAs are in tight budgets. Some aren't as tight. Regardless, if you've got money to spare in your HOA, you don't have money to spare, it still gets down to 65%. So when you say it doesn't cover the cost and it hasn't been increased in 15 years, you know, then I look at that as like, well, why? And to spring it all at one point on somebody, and is that due to just no one really addressed it for 15 years until now?
Basically.
You know, we called that when I was working. You don't want to know what I call that. But I'll use the word. I call that incompetence.
Well, I'm not gonna argue with you, and also just to make another comment, what we're trying to do too, at 31 cents a 1,000 gallons, trying to get any water conservation or water use efficiency is very difficult in the community because nobody cares, because they'll put 10,000 gallons of water in their yard for $3. So we're also trying to do this and bring those higher users to a higher tier as a price signal to say,
Well,
you need to cut back on the resources.
Our community, which is Daniels Preserve, is a 1 meter community. Some are, some aren't. You know, and so the impact I think is felt greater if because you can try to control it as you say, individually, but if an individual's getting hit with it, it's one thing. If the whole HOA is getting hit with it, it's another, because it's a mass meter. So I think. Pardon? well, I think that, you know, it can also make a difference. But again, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but 65%, even if it doesn't prove the cost, because it wasn't addressed for 15 years, is not reason to all of a sudden just raise it sky high. I mean, that's not justification. You know, for the mistakes that were made in the past, we shouldn't have to eat through Gateway, a 65% increase in costs and irrigation. You know, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you know.
And to put that in a broad number, the same thing too, if you're going from 31 cents to 50 cents, so 20 cents per 1,000 gallons more, and you're using that 10,000 gallons, so we're hitting people $2. Yeah, it sounds a lot, 65%, but when the original was 31 cents, they're going.
Yeah, Chris, what do we think the
change,
average
but-
increase is gonna be?
Well, we could look at the customer, and I think, but maybe the best thing is we have the consultant come in and make a presentation on the whole background and the cost figures that we used and the capital money we had to put into the system to keep it running. And that this is all a mathematical exercise trying to balance the budget on the product we're providing. So,
Right.
yeah, I think if you will stay for that, and then maybe we could ask the
I can.
consultant some
I
questions.
mean, all right, I mean, going from 2 to 4 obviously is a larger percentage than going from 10 to 12. I mean, I understand the game of all that, but, you know.
Chris, you might add too, is we have about 6 million plus in capital needs in our irrigation system,
Right.
and we have repair and replacements. This system, for all practical purposes, for 30 years has not been touched. It's falling apart. A
Well,
lot of work. The district's 58 or 60 zones of irrigation, and Paul, you know the same thing, what it is with the Gateway Greens and its irrigation system for common areas, is old. It's decrepit. You go down, if I hear it once a day, I hear it all the time from somebody saying, I just got my car washed, why do I have to go to the Gateway Boulevard Drive car wash? We're throwing water out needlessly under the road. We've got a lot of things that we've got to do to fix that irrigation system, and all those things added together, notwithstanding the operating cost, is what's generating that rate increase. The rate consultant we talked about it, believe me, I've been harping about it for 10, 12 years.
Well,
It's a problem.
Obviously it's been a problem, and it hasn't been addressed correctly. And I find that as disturbing as the rate increase in itself.
I will mention one thing we did on that too is to try to prevent that happening is part of the proposal today is we were going to start a 15% R&R contribution each month right off the top. So take 15% of your revenue and it goes into a restricted account strictly for renewal and replacement and repair. And that way at least you're building some money to make those repairs and taking care of the asset instead of waiting until it totally falls apart. Sir. Okay, and next we have Francis Inoki.
Yes.
And he's also here to talk about the water rate increase.
Yes, I don't want to, I'm Francis Iannucci, I live in Daniels Preserve also. And I'm not going to repeat everything that Jeff said. I agree 100% with everything he said. It bothers me that, to me, it represents poor planning. Even when I moved in here, and I'm not here that long, in 2013, we were obviously building everywhere. We were building commercial properties, we were adding in residential properties. The infrastructure hadn't changed, and we obviously overwhelmed the infrastructure. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Why it took this long to say the system's falling apart, we need to change it, bothers me, because I believe that is why we elect people to plan, so that if we have to do it a nickel a year, if we have to do it 10 cents a year, it makes a lot more sense to fix things before we find out that they're completely broken, and it can't be any surprise. We have double the number of residences that we had 10 years ago, double the number of businesses. We're all depending on the same water systems, the same infrastructure. The same thing happened to us, at least from my perspective, when Irma hit. After Irma, we found out the pumps weren't working, the gates weren't working, the drainage was crappy. You know, I'm kind of surprised we didn't know any of this until we had the hurricane. It just sounds like the same thing over and over again, and it all comes down to planning. And you know, I know that it's a sin to discuss a moratorium on building, but maybe before we put something on every single empty piece of property in Gateway, we ought to figure out if the infrastructure can withstand it before we build it. Those are my thoughts, because again, a 65% increase, it may be justified because of the condition of the present system, but it's not justified that we didn't address it for 15 years and now we have to do it all at once. And the old adage that, well, it's only gonna be $1.50 a person, it's only gonna be 50 cents, $5. I come from the land of overbuilding. I moved here from New York. And the 50 cents, and it's only gonna be $1, and it's only gonna be $5. I owned a little crappy Cape Cod in the middle of nowhere, and my taxes were $15,000 a year when I moved here. And, you know, I hate to see the same things happening all over again.
And I know it's frustrating. We could go through all the reasons historically why we got to where we are today. But I know that this board has made it a priority in the last 2 to 3 years to do a better job planning and to figure out how we're gonna fix the infrastructure. And it requires some hard decisions that, you know, nobody ever likes to raise taxes or raise fees, but sometimes you come to that decision that that's the only way to fix the problems we've got. And I know it's frustrating for you, it's been frustrating for this board for some of the rocks that have been turned over and the problems have been found, and then we've got to figure out a way to fix them, so.
Right, and I understand, but maybe going forward, we can be a little more proactive in the way we look at things.
And that is exactly what this board's priority is, to get to where we're not being reactive, we're being proactive. That's.
And just one more question. Is there any progress on the Commerce Lakes conveyance?
I was gonna report on that when I get to my portion of the meeting.
Okay, let's get that.
You know, I had just one thing, and we've gone through this anytime we go through budgeting. We've definitely talked about it during the re-election time. There's not a whole lot that we can do to go back 10, 15 years. But to echo Mark's point, the last 2 years, I mean, significant things that we've done is change organizationally how we do business. And it's focused on planning, prioritization, audit, accountability, process, procedures, all these different things, which helps us turn over rocks and determine, you know, things aren't working the way they are. And Chris and his team, you know, Kenny especially, has really done inventory, assessment, pressure testing. They've done all these different things to identify what is the current state of our infrastructure. And by doing all these things, we've identified more issues than we thought we had. And I think if you look at the planning process, we are looking to build this 3 to 5 year, 10-year plan. Some of it's capital, some of it's maintenance. So we're not having to get in this position again in 5 or 10 years. But think about it and look at it holistically too. When you look at a rate increase aligned with assessments, our vision is to try to remain as flat as we possibly can, impacting the residents. And that may come in, you know, hypothetically, I think it's my personal goal, and I think the board might agree, is to try to keep assessments as low as we can and not have these 15, 20% increases. But in order to do that, we may have to offset a little bit with some of the rate increases that we're doing now to try to balance it out. So the impact isn't, you know, so enormous to our residents. It's a little bit of time. And 65% might seem like a lot, but it is one of those areas where that increase is definitely more, I would say, palatable than a raise in your assessments or doing all those things across the board. So we're very cognizant of the impact to our residents
In a
across the board.
mass meter community like Daniels Preserve that only has 215 hours, it's going to cause an instant rate in the HOA fees.
Yeah.
And we have no way to avoid that.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to explain that to other people.
Yeah, but you know, in Daniels Preserve as well, I mean, we're looking at, you know, taking over the defunct POAs that will be impacts to Gateway that won't necessarily be absorbed by Daniels Preserve. So there's things that, it's a little bit of give and take. That's why I say take a step back, look at it from a much larger picture. I absolutely know where you're coming from and know the impact, but just know that we are looking at things on a much broader scale to try to balance it.
So Daniels, where you have budgeted in your HOA budget, the common area water, you also have the individual household water. So I'm assuming that the guy that waters his yard 5 days a week, or the guy that doesn't water his yard 5 days a week is subsidizing the guy who does.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's not fair.
And maybe we need to look at that,
If I had
need a
been on the board,
restructuring
I would
there.
have never had a part and allowed that type of metering at all.
Well, and
As
that's
a
what I said,
joke.
that's what we probably need to look at, is
But
how
we
we
got the same-
restructure those meters.
We got the same thing at Pelican Reserve with Pistoia and Prado. These master meters, they are absolutely worthless.
It turned out to
And
be a
it
bad
may
idea.
require the HOA to crack down a little bit on the people that are
Well,
over
we have,
watering.
we put rules in place, we're putting new rules in place, we're gonna have the water, the irrigation meters preset, so, but again, and we have to monitor each other, which we try to do. But again, even if everybody does, the rate increase is gonna have to be spread over those 215 people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last comment we have today is Rosine Page, Eagle Point Circle.
Hello. We have had issues at the fun park for 2 years now. We have been here before discussing this. There are outside residents, non-residents of Gateway using the park after dark. The last thing, and I sent all of you a picture showing you, when I'm walking my dog through the parking lot, she stops to sniff at something, and it was a used prophylactic. At the same time, a young mother with her toddler is getting out of her car, and I had to warn her not to step on it. And this park is supposed to be for Gateway residents to use and their children, and it needs to be enforced. So the request is for a swing gate with a fob, so the Gateway residents can use it, but the outside residents who are leaving it extremely unsanitary and not really for use for children especially, are the people that live here. So that's my request to you.
The only thing I'd like to add is we've addressed this probably several times over the past at least 2 years. And I know law enforcement has been increased. I see law enforcement over there periodically. But it doesn't really prevent these kind of things from happening.
Correct.
And it's going on during the night when people come by there. People are out there using it for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
Every wrong reason you can think of. Not
Right.
only the drugs, and there are drugs there.
Beer bottles.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And it's happening at night, I mean, at this point, right? I
It's
think some of
happening
the
at
other
night.
things we've
Well,
I think
that's
we've
happening,
addressed, but.
that's happening at night, but, and not that this is an issue to me personally, but if there were guys or girls that wanted to play basketball from Gateway, that basketball park is totally consumed by non-residents. That's my assumption,
Yeah.
okay? I did come home once to try to park in the car and walk through because I left my gate opener inside. There was not a parking place, and I don't think that any of the people parking there were Gateway residents. So I feel like we should be able to use our own park, and it should be clean, and it should be safe.
I know that Chris Shoemaker has looked into pricings for gates. To
That's
put
great.
something up there that would stop people from being able to use it
Yes.
after dusk.
Yes.
So,
I think another issue is, and Doug probably can attest to this, when the bidders live there, they would not take their children because of the profanity that's used when other people are there. You can't take the children when all those other people are there. The Gateway residents can't use the park because unless you want to let your children be exposed to all the other bad stuff. So what has basically happened is the residents of Gateway doesn't use it. It's been taken over by other people, so,
Right.
which is, you know, there again, part of our,
CDD, right?
yes,
So-
and our assessments and our tax dollars, so.
Right.
That would be my.
Yes, I think the gate would be the resolution.
And we're just asking that you know, at some point, really try to address it, because it has been going
Yeah.
on for
And I
several
don't think
years.
anybody, any of you, anybody would want to have that behind their property that they've paid for and want to enjoy.
I'm having a problem with the gate. When I was a kid and there was a gate, I went around it. What's
A
to
car
keep-
can't.
What's to keep the car just parking out there along the edge of the road and the kids get out and walk back
Being
there?
enforced, being enforced.
That's the real key.
Right.
That's the
And is
real
some of the
key.
stuff happening after hours, is it in cars?
Yes.
As opposed to just, you know, I don't think people are hanging out late playing, you know, basketball
No.
at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
But my point is, if there's things going on that are outside basketball,
Yes.
it's probably happening in cars as opposed to, because there's no
Well,
covered
don't
area there.
forget about
really.
picnic tables, because I think they've been used.
I mean, lighting might be.
And there are cars, in
Yeah.
fact, just 2 nights ago, kids drove in, kept their headlights on, and went out and played basketball. I have a picture.
Oh,
of it.
shining on the
Yeah,
court.
yeah. I mean, and at least the gate would deter that kind of activity, and some visible signs, and some hopefully enforcement.
And I think it's probably right, enforcement and, yeah, it'd have to be ongoing and.
It's almost like every 18 months,
Yeah.
we,
It's
you know, we
cycles.
increase the presence, we do some things, and then once that, you know, is, well, about 6 to 8 months later, we start getting some of the same thing. We have to increase police presence again and doing those things.
Well,
Because
but-
it's hard to solve the problem because it's
Well,
complicated.
right.
Because it is not private, it's public, it's hard for us to restrict that area, so that's.
And, well, we have a letter from Cecil Pendergrass outlining the fact that it is Gateway Services' responsibility to maintain
Yeah.
it.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is, yeah, yeah. So, and the other thing is, a gate and some kind of enforcement is what's gonna give peace of mind to the residents there. And that's pretty crucial to, we live in Gateway. I mean, you know, we should be able to use our own amenities.
And you asked the police to step up, or the sheriff to step up going by there.
We did in December, I asked them for a month to patrol that area Thursday through Sunday specifically 2 times a night. And part of that too is you've got an increased amount of cars parking there overnight, people bringing their boats in, and then when you have 6 or 8 cars that are parked in there overnight, these other people are sliding their cars right between them and hiding out in a parking lot now basically, but leaving cars, or they'll drive right through the grass and go up there. And we did get a price, you know, double swing gate. Biggest thing with our end is we have to open and shut it like we do our other gates. You're probably looking at about $1,800 to $2,000 for the gate itself, and another $1,500 to have it installed and locking mechanism. So we can address it, be $3,000, $3,200, and then we could also, if you wanted to, put those signs up about overnight towing, because if we shut the gate, people drive up in there, then you may want to start towing cars. Or we could put some bollards along there.
And not only that, they would be destructive too, because they are quite destructive at times, so you gotta figure in that cost with that gate, because at some point, it will be vandalized.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, that's all we have for audience comments tonight.
Okay. That moves us to district manager and utility manager staff report.
I'll go ahead, I'm just gonna briefly go over a few things. We're continuing our storm drain cleaning over in Gateway Greens. And of course, we have found some damages as we're cleaning those areas, or things that might need to be repaired. We did pull the contractor off the golf course side. He had concerns because of the truck being out there in the ruts, and this is their high season. They have a lot of new potential members, but they'll be coming back out there, but then they'll continue to clean those pipes.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Have a couple of-
And we'll continue to clean those pipes in that area and move through the neighborhood. And on January 9th, the bids are due for the next segment of pipe cleaning in the various neighborhoods that we put out. So second meeting this month, we'll bring those bids back to you. We just talked about the fun park.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have a great photo montage if anyone would like to examine it. Lake Bank Construction, we've been working with adjacent property owners. We just about tied up the easements we need for that project. And also, we have revised amounts that we've provided to the FDEP. They'll be taking that on February 14th to their funding meeting, but from the staff standpoint, they said they didn't think there would be any problem at all for us to increase the amount to cover the cost of the 6 lakes that are out to bid right now. And stormwater conveyance maintenance project, I'm afraid that's a little remiss on my side. We won't get that out to bid till next week, but that's the big conveyance cleaning.
Have we got the plans done on that?
Yes, sir.
They're done, we can look at them now?
They're ready to go. And I also have some plans, if anybody'd like to see them, for the roundabout that is attached to the new high school. There's a couple sets back there, someone would like to see them, but it's just their traffic, how they're gonna get in and out of the school off Griffin Road.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and it's a roundabout, and the school board has submitted the Water Management District permit application, so that's in process right now too. And the school board said if we'd like to have them back, talk about their progress. And I said, well, in a few months we will. We'll just follow your permitting and watch that. And also those roundabout plans, I provided those to the HOAs up on Griffin, Magnolia Lakes and Hampton Park, so they'd be aware of what's in the plans.
What's the impact of that roundabout on the sidewalk on the west side of the road?
That's a good question. I couldn't answer that without.
I looked at it, I don't see any way in the world that unless somebody's gonna be walking along that sidewalk, they're gonna get nipped by a truck.
Yeah, but
It's
that-
too close.
And I think they're gonna
Which
have.
means they're gonna have a bubble out on that sidewalk, which goes into the drainage swale.
Well, some type of bubble out, or same thing, their crossings are on either side, a little ways away from the roundabout. It's gonna be congested, and that's where the buses are gonna come in also, so.
And had they submitted in even preliminary form the request for approval from the county
No.
DOT for that roundabout?
No,
And
Maybe that's our salvation.
who put that together, Josh?
Johnson Engineering's doing that work for them.
It is a disaster waiting to happen.
Crazy. But they have to account for the sidewalk. They can't just not have a sidewalk, can't
Well,
start
the
then.
biggest problem is
be
you're
like
coming out of
Broader.
school and in the right turn to 82 is a no-brainer. That's not a problem. It's all those cars that are gonna go and merge
Right.
into, across the traffic, going from south to north, merging with those coming from north to south, and staying in that lane. Might as well just park an ambulance there. It is a mess. I've never seen one done like, my firm did them up in Indiana, and my insurance agent was always worried about us doing those damn things.
Well, and I've seen roundabouts in locations where they make sense, but where you're coming and going from a school, just to me is just, I don't know, just seems like you're asking for trouble.
16-year-old
Nobody's
drivers.
really asking us.
I'm just hoping that the county will make some changes in it.
Do you know if they, on 82, on the new construction, I know they've got sidewalks on the Lehigh side, are they?
It'll be on both sides.
Yeah.
They
it'll
will
be
be
on
put on
both
both
sides.
sides.
One's gonna be for like bicycles and golf carts, and the other one's gonna be more pedestrian.
So the one on the Lehigh side, the more.
I don't know which one's.
Because it's only,
One was supposed to be 6 feet wide, and one was supposed to be either 8 or 10. And I don't know which is which and which side it's on.
well, the
But
Lehigh
there's
side,
one
there's
on
no way
both
that's
sides.
6 feet.
I don't think we could do one on our side that would be 6 feet wide.
Well, it's not on the other
Okay.
side either. The one that's already done on the Lehigh side on
Yeah.
82, there's no
It's
way.
already-
I don't think it's more than 4 feet.
I would be surprised if they have done anything in the way of a fine line on sidewalks. That's the very last thing. to
No,
do.
they run
Oh,
sidewalks
yeah.
all the
It's-
way
It's
down.
new. I haven't been out there.
They did it a month ago.
I stay
Yeah.
off that road.
But anyway, I was just curious because I wasn't sure.
Well, I don't think we had a dog in the fight of saying anything about the roundabout unless asked.
What's the impact on facility?
It scares me looking at that design.
Utility manager. Hi, Kenny. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Kenny Hall, Utility Manager. I want to start out, our 2019 SCADA system is all installed and online and running. the newer ones, and now we are getting pressure readers, which is a really, really, really handy tool with irrigation and water. We can now see it, track it, trend it, and since the time it's been put on to whenever it's turned off, we have historical. We're starting to build up historical.
Is that real time or is it check-in?
Real time.
Okay.
It gives us a static reading and forever. And and we have it on both water and irrigation. We have 8 more left to complete the system. That will put every station we have under SCADA control. We're monitoring more. We can't control it, but they monitor. It comes in. This is almost a must now with the way these systems are running.
You're talking about majors stations, majors.
All of them, which is the end game. And you have pressure sensors in each one of them, which gives us just invaluable information. And that's been completed for 2019. We're going to meet with Lee County in our annual meeting this year. One of the things that we're that I really want to discuss with them is their cross connection program, because of the cross connection that we found with one of our residents. We're going to institute a cross connection program where our field people go out and verify. I'm planning on 1 to 10, so for 1 out of every 10 work orders where one of our field guys goes out to the field, we will do a cross connection check, certify it, and then have a form to fill out so that it's been verified that it is not cross connected. From Hurricane Irma, what we found was that most of the breaks were on the PVC side, meaning on the customer side. So once we found that one cross connection, that kind of just set everything in motion. And it's a very prudent idea with our reclaim system to be going out there and checking cross connections. So we're going to start that this month, start doing cross connection check. Once I get through with this meeting with Lee County, my research is usually on average 1 to 10. So for every 10 work orders that go out, we require one of our field guys to go into a resident's yard or the meter box. One of them will be checked. We'll do a cross connection check, and we'll have historical knowledge on that. And I also I went to Daniels Preserve their last 2 HOA meetings to propose the schedule change. That has been done. The HOA approved it. And I talked to their contractor this morning, and they're going to start switching over. He's going to every residence to switch the actual timers on this community, which is a master meter community.
Kenny, the gentleman, I'm assuming Daniels, we can assist them greatly. One of the problems with those master meters, you don't know who's the guilty party of using the water. Well, we do. That new metering system we have, Leslie can tell you every one of those 231 homes who's watering illegally.
If it's on a residential side, yes, but on a master meter, we only have 1 meter.
There's not.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There's no connection.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, and Daniels Preserve
Meter. So they've got to go out and see it for themselves.
Yes.
That they have no finding authority or anything. In fact, they don't even have any responsibility when it comes down to
I will
that.
say on the communities that we have switched over, one thing that we did notice right in the first 30 days was a dramatic reduction in water usage. That even though say, I don't want to raise the rates, but the amount of water that they were using dropped because the 7-day-a-week watering stopped.
But what you're doing is you're just going to control it to where it's off for 5 days, and they can only water on 2 days.
Each resident gets 2 days, and that'll be Monday and Tuesday and Friday and Saturday. And 3 of those days in the master meter communities are our non-demand days. So they're going to get free run